Welcome to FAM 151. This is Personal Development and Interpersonal Relationships. My name's Samantha Anderson, and I'm going to be your instructor this semester. So I wanted to introduce myself and tell you a little bit about the class. I graduated from USM in 2014 with a master's degree in Child and Family Studies, and I did all of my graduate work online. So I've definitely been in your shoes as an online student, so I know how it feels being on the other side of this. So if you have questions, please let me know. I will try to explain things the best I can, but online classes are a little bit different than in-person classes. So we'll talk a little bit about that and how to be successful navigating the difference here in a minute. Another thing is that I live in Austin, Texas. So I don't have an office on campus there at USM. So you won't be able to just stop by and ask me questions or things like that. I'm happy to take phone calls. My phone number's on the syllabus, or email is really the best way to get a hold of me because then I can answer you right back with my computer there and have all the information that you need. Sometimes if you call me, I might be in the car taking my kids somewhere or not really be able to get to my class information. So if you email me, that's the easiest way to get a hold of me. So I just wanted to show you my email address here and explain to double check when you're emailing me on the spelling. If you just type in my email address, it's spelled S-E-N, not S-O-N. So I've had some problems with that in the past where people would spell my name wrong on the email and then it never got to me. And then obviously then their email didn't get answered and they thought that I wasn't wanting to talk to them. So anyway, just make sure to spell my name with S-E-N if you're emailing me, and I'll get right back to you. So just about online learning in general, there are a lot of benefits. I really love online learning. It was my favorite way to do my master's degree. It was great because it's so flexible. You can work it around your schedule. You don't have to be in class at a set time. But there's the few drawbacks would just be that there's a lot more responsibility on you as the student because the lectures, I do have some video lectures, but it's not all inclusive. So you have to make sure that you're reading the textbook, and it's a lot of the things that you'll come across. You might feel like you're kind of teaching yourself. So hopefully you don't feel that way. Please ask me again on the email if you have any questions, or there's a discussion board that you can use for class questions like that. The other thing that is a lot more student responsibility is just keeping track of due dates and things like that. So I would recommend writing down those due dates right at the beginning of the semester, somewhere where you can refer back to them often so that you don't forget. Because I think online classes, it's kind of easy to forget to check in for a little while, and then you might miss an assignment due date or something like that because you're not going to class on a regular basis with reminders of what's due and tests and things like that. So when you're in an online class, just make sure that you're being self-motivated and that you're going to have to be the one that's doing the reading and checking in and making sure you're being proactive about the class. So with that, here's some things that you can do to be successful in an online class. So like I said, read through the syllabus and the course calendar and make note of those due dates right now. However is the best way for you to remember them. I don't know if you want to put them in your phone or on your calendar or somewhere so that you don't forget. I can't tell you how many times I've had students email me in a panic because they just forgot to log on and take a test, and that's a big problem. So please write them down right now so that you don't miss any major assignments or tests or anything like that. And then checking in regularly is really important. I will be sending out announcements and reminders and all kinds of stuff to try to be engaged in the class and so that you guys don't feel like you're on your own. I want to remind you of things as much as I can. So when I do that, the only way you'll see it is if you check into the class and check your email. So as many reminders as I send, if you're not checking in, then you're not going to get them. Starting early on your assignments is probably the number one tip that I could give you. If you wait until the night of a due date and then something happens, then all of a sudden it becomes this emergency where, you're frantic at the last minute. But if you had it done a couple days early, then you'd give yourself plenty of time to work out any technical issues, or if you have a family emergency or something like that, you're not pushing that deadline to the last minute. And backing up your work is really important, because if you only have one copy saved on your laptop or something and then it crashes, then you've just lost all that work that you put in. So I know it's an extra step and it's kind of a pain, but if that happens to you and you have a computer problem, you will be really glad you did. So you can email it to yourself, you can use a Google Doc, you can use a flash drive. There's lots of different ways to do it. So however it's easiest for you, just make sure you have a second copy somewhere of your assignments in case something happens with your computer. You'll be turning in your written assignments on Turnitin. So I don't know, most people have probably used it before, but I'm just going to explain how the originality report works. So you'll turn in your assignment, and then Turnitin will give you something called an originality report. And you have to click on this originality to see what it's giving you. But basically, it's flagging anything that it recognizes that's been copied from somewhere else. So anything that's been published somewhere else or that's been submitted in a student paper somewhere else to turn it in, it will flag those as plagiarism. So what you can do is then go and look at your report and see where you need to make changes. So if you copied and pasted something, but you forgot to put it in quotation marks or didn't cite it properly, then that's plagiarism. But this report is going to help you to fix those problems. So you can turn it in multiple times before the due date. So, which is another reason why you should not wait until the last minute, so that you can get that report back, see what's wrong, and fix it, and then turn it back in. So that way you won't lose points on something that isn't cited properly or that's copied from somewhere else. The other tip would be just to read all the assignment instructions carefully. So I basically break down exactly how I'm going to be grading and give really specific instructions on all of those writing assignments. So if you're reading that and looking at those as you're writing your papers, that will help a lot, because you'll be able to see exactly what I'm looking for and how I'm going to be grading. Here's your textbook. It is Julia Wood, Interpersonal Communication. So you'll need to get this from the bookstore. And then there's a couple of other things that you'll need. The book review, you don't have to buy that book. You can just get it from the library or something like that. And there is a list on Blackboard. So you get to choose which book you want to review. There's a list of a few different options. But you don't have to buy those. You can just check it out from a public library or from USM library, or get it from somewhere else. It shouldn't cost you very much, if anything, to get those books for the book review. And then the movie analysis, again, there'll be a list, and you can get to pick whichever one off of that list. So some of them might be on Netflix or Amazon, or you could check those out from the library or something like that too. And then there are supplemental materials on Blackboard, which would just be a video to watch or an article to read or something like that. So those will be right there in Blackboard, and you can just click on them each week. So I wanted to go over the assignments with you and just explain briefly how those are going to work. So everything is written out really clearly on the syllabus and in Blackboard. So if you have any questions, please make sure that you're reading the syllabus and reading the instructions on Blackboard so that you can understand exactly what you're supposed to be doing. But basically, the discussion board, every week I'll ask a question, and then you guys will write your answer on the discussion board. Please note those discussion boards have minimum word count requirements. So make sure that you're meeting that minimum word count. Do a quick word count before you submit your post. And then at the end of each of your posts, you're going to ask a question to the class, which will need to be about the topic that we're discussing that week, or something that you read in your chapter, something relating to the course materials, the supplemental materials, anything like that. So you'll ask a question at the end of your post, and then people will be responding to your question. And then you need to respond to 2 other people's questions. So you're going to have a total of 3 discussion board postings each week. And those are not ever accepted late. So you've got to get them in before the due date. There's a syllabus quiz, which is due at the end of week 2. It's just to make sure that you've read the syllabus and that you understand the policies. So that's really not a big deal. You can use your syllabus as you're taking that quiz, but you can only take it one time. So just make sure you're ready when you hit start. There's a grade communications form, which is basically just a consent form saying you're giving me permission to discuss your grades over email or over the phone. So you need to get this turned in also by the end of week 2, because if you don't, then I can't discuss your grades with you. So if you send me an email and ask me a question about one of your grades, if you haven't turned in this form, I cannot answer your email. So I will email you back and I will say, you need to turn in the grade communications form, and then I can talk to you about your grade. So just make sure to get that in. And then there are 3 tests. They are timed, so you can use your book and your notes, but they have a time limit. So with the test, you just need to make sure that you're doing all your reading and taking good notes on everything that's going on during the for the course materials for that week. And then you can go back and look through all of your stuff and look through your textbook while you're taking the test. So it's open book, so that sounds like it might be easy, but the questions, it's not like something that you can just flip through and be able to find it really fast. Like some of them are pretty detailed and they're going to jump around all over the place from chapters. There are usually 4 chapters in each test. So you're going to have one question from chapter 1 and then a question from chapter 4, and then it's going to flip back all around. So basically what I'm getting at is you need to know your stuff before you start taking the test, so that if you do need to look up something, you'll kind of know where to find it and be familiar with it, rather than I haven't read the book at all and I'm just going to take the test and find all the answers. You won't have enough time to be able to do that. So do all your reading before you take the test and you'll be okay. And then you can use your book to kind of remind yourself of things that you have already read and things that you are already familiar with. There are 4 class activities. These are short writing assignments where we will be putting into practice some of the things that we will be learning about. You can find more information about those on Blackboard. And then the book review and the movie analysis, which I already mentioned, those are also writing assignments where the book review, you'll be reading another book that kind of relates to topics that we're discussing, and then you're going to kind of compare the concepts that we're learning about and how they use them in those other books. And then the movie analysis is sort of the same thing. You're going to be watching a movie, and then you're going to be kind of analyzing that movie based on the concepts that we've been learning about in class. Okay, so here's the late work policy. Like I said before, discussion boards are never accepted late. Those are supposed to be interactive. It's like a classroom conversation. So if you miss out on the conversation, you can't really go back and talk to people because everybody else will have already moved on to the next week. For tests, you can take a test late, but only for 7 days and only if you have a university approved excused absence. So those are a little bit harder to come by because it has to be something that you can document. So you've got to go to the office, student affairs office, and show them. So you have a doctor's note or something from work that you can show. So you have to document your absence. So if you just forget to take a test, they're not going to give you a university approved absence, and then you're going to get a 0 on the test. The tests are only going to be up for a limited amount of time. So you've got to get on there and take them before that due date is posted. And only for 7 days, even with the approved excused absence. So if 7 days have gone by and then you show up with an approved excused absence, I'm going to tell you, no, I'm sorry, it's past the 7 days. So I'm going to be really strict about that 7-day deadline. So if you miss something, you have to contact me within the 7 days. So again, for tests, you absolutely have to have a university approved excused absence. If you do not have one of these and you miss the test, you will get a 0. For your other assignments, like the class activities and the book review and things like that, if you get one of these excused absences within 7 days, then you can still get full credit. If you don't get an excused absence within 7 days, then I'll just deduct 10% of the total per day. So if it's worth 50 points, that'll be 5 points a day up to 7 days. So again, If you go past the 7 days and then you contact me about turning in an assignment late, I'm going to tell you no, you cannot turn it in after 7 days. So sometimes people will email me at the very end of the semester saying, can I please turn in this work from week 3? And my answer is no, I'm sorry, it's past the 7-day deadline. So that's why it's really important to do regular check-ins and just make sure you're keeping up with the due dates as we go along. And then again, with those approved, university approved absences, you just have to document that it's some type of family emergency or an illness or a work thing, that has gone for the whole amount of time, whatever that assignment was due. So forgetting what day it is will not get you an approved excused absence. So the best way to avoid all of this is just to get your work turned in on time, and then you won't have to worry about the late work policy. So let me know if you have any questions, and all of this is clearly written out in the syllabus as well. And the last thing that I want to leave you with is just that I am here to help. I don't want you guys to feel like you're on your own just because it's an online course and we don't see each other on a regular basis. I'm always here. I'm happy to email you back as soon as you have any questions or anything like that. So good luck this semester, and I look forward to getting to know you guys better.